Hey everybody, this is Andrew Bensley, co-host of Community Notice Board podcast and a former guest at the Andy Social podcast. Just telling you guys to come check mine out at the Community Notice Board. Fuck, I can't do it.
There's not a gun to his head right now, I promise you. It seems like there is. But yeah, listen guys, we do a great podcast called Community Notice Board. We've had some great guests on in the past, Becky Lucas, Luke Heggie, and that's what I reckon. And James, what's the pod about?
It's about suburbs we grew up in. So we talk about the guest's local history with the place, must-see places that you have to visit, coming-of-age tales, and the hometown heroes that we just can't forget.
Yeah, so give it a listen on all podcast apps and all that sort of shit.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, thanks a lot.
See ya.
Hey, it's the Andy Social Podcast, episode 301. 301. We may as well be in the thick of the 300s now. Full steam ahead. Who knows? Who knows who the hell is going to be on the podcast during the 300s? So many people to talk to. And speaking of which, my guest on this episode is Jarrod Goon. Jarrod is a guitarist in Australian punk band Clowns. They've been around for a few years now. In 2019, their last album that came out, Nature Nurture, was an ARIA-nominated album. In more recent times, in the last few weeks, they released a single called Does It Matter? And there's an awesome video clip that goes with that, and I'll put it in the show notes. They're going to hit the road from the end of July, playing places like Alice Springs, Geelong, Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne, the Sunshine and the Gold Coasts, Brisbane, and no doubt other dates as well. You can go to damagemusic.com.au to go and pick up tickets for that. I'll have all the dates and links in the show notes, of course, and you can go to clownsband.com. I'll have links to everything, Jarrod, the band, everything we discuss over at andysocial.net and andydowling.net. But enough crapping on from me. Please enjoy this great chat with the guy himself, Jarrod Goon. Did you guys have any sort of immediate plans that got thrown out the window as far as, you know, what's currently happening, or are you sort of in between stuff?
I mean, we had this one festival in Brisbane that was meant to be last Saturday, and we were all looking forward to it because we got to go on a plane again. You know, it's been a while. I remember the end of 2019, we'd just flown back from 6 months of constant touring, and I was like, the wheels touched the ground in Melbourne, and I was like, I never, ever want to get on a plane ever again. And then, you know, a year and a half into the pandemic or whatever, I was like, oh, I just want to get on a plane. Like, yeah. And then we were literally days away from flying up to Brizzy, and yeah, the lockdown happened, and that's sort of all we really had sort of solidified in plans. I mean, we've got, you know, we're going to be demoing some new stuff hopefully soon and recording more music, but it's all, you just got to play it by ear at the moment and roll with it. I mean, we don't know what's going to be announced tomorrow or the next day. So yeah. And I mean, everyone's copying it, so you can't really complain about it either. It's just, you know, you've got to deal with it as it comes.
Yeah, it's not even the case from like a bit of a promo PR point of view that you can talk about, you know, how the band's going through this adversity and getting thrown around and schedules getting thrown out of whack when that same storyline is just happening to every band in the world.
It's not a unique talking point, is it?
No.
It's just
Oh, it's tough. It's tough though, eh? And I'm sure, I mean, we were really lucky last year. We had some show offers overseas, and it was so funny because we had to turn them down for a bunch of different reasons, and in hindsight, it was the best decision we ever made. Otherwise, we could have been stuck overseas, or we could have outlaid thousands of dollars or whatever. But at the time, I was just kicking myself going, oh, come on, like the 16-year-old Andy would be spewing. You'd be going, you loser, how can you turn down this stuff?
But
it worked out.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, we had sort of, I mean, like in terms of the timing of COVID for us, we really hit it hard in 2019. Like we were on an album cycle, and December was when we finished touring, December 2019. So we had tours, like overseas plans for 2020, but in terms of when the virus came, it kind of worked out the best timing it could have for us. It's not like we were overseas already in the middle of a tour or about to leave for a tour. So, and I think myself and a lot of my bandmates all sort of felt like we needed some time off touring. We were really just, burning the candle at both ends. We were playing shows nonstop, and I think as bad as COVID's been, it was kind of good for us, for our mental health, to just stop playing shows and just spend some time at home.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it was a bit of an adjustment period, because I think no doubt it would be the same for some of you guys, where there's that initial sort of frustration of not being able to do what you have your mind set on doing, but then once you realize that you're completely helpless and you can't control the situation, you have to roll with it, that I guess the guard starts to come down, where you're able to sort of mentally relax a bit, or just start to recharge those batteries and
definitely
clean the house or something. I don't know, just do something that you've been meaning to do for probably the last 6 to 12 months or longer.
Yeah, and exercise and drink less and like things like that, like things that you just can't do when you're on tour.
What did you guys do because I know that you guys have got the label that you've been running, and that's obviously from what I can see, it's like a record label and booking agent sort of setup that you guys have created.
Yeah.
Did you guys sort of keep that sort of running in the background, or did you just try and put that on ice as well, just to give you guys a bit more of a break, even in that respect?
No, the ball sort of kept rolling with the label. So we kept things going. I mean, I was working in my family business with my dad and my brother throughout all of lockdown as well, because we were doing freight and packaging and whatnot. So I was kind of got busier than I'd ever been through lockdown. So the other guys with running the label kind of took the reins with that, and we put out a record by a band called Private Function. And that was great. It charted well, and it sort of kept the spirits up through COVID, so it's constantly been busy with the band and with the label. We've sort of, the guys that I play with, everyone's always thinking of years and reasons to keep busy, even if we are all stuck at home in separate suburbs and can't get together. There's always things bubbling along, which has been great. Even though we were in lockdown, we managed to keep busy.
I mean, you guys seem to have a fair bit of a DIY ethic around the band. Like, it's just that vibe's always sort of been prevalent, with at least looking from the outside anyway. So I guess that makes sense that you guys would just keep moving.
Yeah. And I mean, especially Jake and Stevie, they're sort of the two original members of the band. And when they started the band 10 odd years ago, everything was DIY. It was, we're going to book some shows up the coast and we're going to go on tour, and then we're going to go overseas, because we met this person at this place and they know someone, and it was all just meeting people and finding ways to get places regardless of money or, anything like that. It was just try to get there to play the shows. If you're going to lose a heap of money, if you're going to have to sleep on a floor, then that's it. And I mean, when I joined the band, it was I kind of came at a good time. The other guys had put in so many years of sleeping on floors. I mean, I've slept on plenty of floors and done that whole thing, but it's sort of from there it's sort of built up, and occasionally we get to stay at hotels and whatnot now, which is pretty special. Pretty special for a DIY punk band,
Oh man, it's always a novelty when you've got you got a nice bed that doesn't have any bed bugs, or you can lock yourself in a room away from somebody else, just even for just a few hours. It's not a toilet or something like that where you're just trying to escape for a few moments.
Oh yeah, I mean we still live on top of each other when we're if we're touring Europe or the States or something like that. It's always, we're all in a van and we share the driving, and it's not very luxurious. Like especially when we're in the States last, we stayed at some very crummy hotels and had a few sketchy moments along the way, but it's all part of it. It kind of makes it more fun in a way.
And it's definitely more fun later on down the track when you're reflecting, like in the midst of it, you're sort of going, "Oh, this is absolutely fucked. Get me home." This is, and you're on the verge of having a breakdown. But then later on, it just becomes an awesome story.
Oh yeah, there's been plenty of breakdowns and yeah, but as long as you can laugh about it in a week's time, like there's so many stories of scary shit happening, or people nearly dying, or whatever, and yeah, it's good to laugh about it later on.
So there's been a few near-death experiences.
Yeah. There's one that is pretty outrageous, and it was pretty scary at the time, but we like to laugh about it now. We were in France, and we played this little street party gig. It was in this tiny little nice French street, and we got this big van, and once we finish, we pile in and we're trying to navigate the tiny laneways, and we had to turn this corner that was really tight, and our sound guy Dudu, he's a French guy. He sort of got out of the van to help navigate where we had to turn to make sure we wouldn't hit the wall. And so we're going, and he's going, "No, stop, go back." And at one point he shouted, he was trying to get us to stop, and I don't think whoever was driving heard him, and so he put his arm between where the van and the wall was and crushed his arm. And we were like, "Dudes, please." And he was like, we're like, "All right, something's gone wrong." So we just like pulled on the handbrake and went to see what was going on, and his arm was pinned against the wall.
Oh.
And so luckily Jake was thinking fast. He just like wedged himself between the wall and van and just pushed and freed his arm. But it was like, had we have driven forward, he would have lost his arm, I reckon. And everyone was kind of shaken up after that, and we got back to the hotel and, didn't really, we were all concerned for at least that night. And then by the next day we were all laughing about it, and it was hilarious. And we get to tell people this story, and we laughed about it with Dudu on the next tour he did with us. And yeah, so it ended up being a good thing because we all thought it was funny. Of course, the fact that Dudu was okay and he didn't lose his arm was the most important thing. But,
of course.
But also it was hilarious.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those things. I remember like there's been heaps of times over the years where you're somewhere and it's like late at night, people are tired or a little bit too drunk, or it's the next day and people are just, worse for wear, and it just, everything that can go wrong can go wrong. Like moods are just the worst. Like everyone's just in the worst mood. And someone just cracks that usual sort of saying going, "Oh, we'll laugh about this one day," and everyone just wants to beat the living shit out of that person. Just shut the fuck up.
Not funny right now though.
Right. But later on you sort of go, "Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was actually quite funny." Yeah. But
sometimes you have the moments the other way around where something happens and it picks everyone up immediately. Like we one time we landed in Germany. It was after 24 hours of travel, and we just got in our van, and we drove around the corner to exit the car park, and the door of the van flung open, the sliding door on the side, and it came off the hinges, so the top was just completely detached from the van. And this is like 5 minutes in Germany, and this has happened, and we're like, "Oh great." So we pull up into the taxi rank. There's an airport worker there, just an attendant at the taxi rank, and he comes on over and he goes, "Oh, what's the matter?" And we're going, "Oh, the door's come off." And in typical German fashion, he has a look, opens his bum bag and pulls out the perfect Allen key, fixed in 2 seconds flat. It reattaches the door and off we go. And that went from us being stressed, jet lagged, and already fed up with tour to just laughing and going, "What are the chances of that being fixed, in 2 seconds?"
Oh mate, and as you said, like just so German. Hey, like there's German engineering like face to face in the flesh.
Oh, 100%. And I don't know about you, but when I get an Allen key for anything, I have to get at least like 2 or 3 until I've the right size. And we were all convinced that he had one Allen key in there, and it was just the perfect one. It was just meant to be.
Yeah, that would make more sense. Absolutely, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, or just as impressive, he like almost like a Terminator style. Like he was able to analyze the millimeter thickness of that little hole, and quickly he just knew straight away, just like this robotic sort of thing. Bam, yep, it's a 2 mil. Like quickly straight out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just flabbergasted. I think we gave him a CD and said thanks, and off we went.
I think with you guys, I'm fascinated because over the years, you guys have like just played a fuck ton. Like you've just been doing a lot of shows, and as you said, like sort of getting, back in 2019, sort of really sort of going, oh man, like we need to stop playing for a bit. I think one thing I'm fascinated about is, and I think it's definitely more of a punk thing than a metal thing, because I think metal bands, at least in Australia, we're not known for doing a lot of touring. We might get overseas and do some shows here and there, but I think that whole punk sort of identity also involves a lot of just getting out there and just playing wherever and whenever you possibly can. And
definitely.
I thought a question worth asking is that, especially since you joined as well, I mean, seeing the evolution of the band over the years, and this might be a little bit too techie for people listening in, but what are some of the non-negotiables that you guys have these days? And I'm not talking about your rider and things like that, but as a touring unit with all of you guys together when you get out and play, what are the sort of things these days which, have become the norm and the standard when it comes to like the logistics, getting out there and playing, being on stage, that you probably didn't have the luxury or didn't think about worrying about back, when you joined the band? Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, I guess from when I joining a punk band for me was a weird thing because I grew up listening to heavy metal music. So I was never really into the whole punk scene and whatnot. And when I joined, it was still sort of, when we go to Sydney, we will stay at a mate's place. And if none of our mates can let us stay, we sleep on the floor at some random place, but over the years, it's gradually developed to where we kind of, we're all a bit older now. We've all sort of done that, and I've no doubt in my mind that we'll still do it every now and then, sleeping on floors and whatnot. But where we can, we'll always try to make sure we've got a bed that night, that we're not, strapped for a place to stay when we're playing a show, that we have to be like, hey, can anyone put us up tonight? Like I think we're kind of done with doing that. And in terms of, equipment and everything like that, we try to make sure that our van has working aircon when we're overseas. Like that's a big one. We've spent time, in traffic in Spain where it's like 40 degrees. We have no aircon. The van's not moving at all because it's bumper to bumper, and we're all just dying. Like the only air that's coming in is the front windows because they roll down. And I guess there's just a few things with comfort that really get us a long way. Like having a place to stay, having aircon. Even the past few shows we've done, we've even gotten guitar techs, which is like the biggest luxury I've ever experienced at a show. Like having someone set up my shit and restring my guitar if I want, or bring out a different guitar for a guitar swap in the middle of the set. Like that's just unheard of for our band. We just never did that. And, it was always your spare guitars in a guitar case behind your amp. And if you break a string, you quickly run over and swap it over and try not to take too long. So like they're things that we try to do when possible. And I guess it's all just sort of building up. And the hard thing is, like, now that we've had a guitar tech a couple of times. I'm like, I never want to play another show again without one. Like, I'm turning into this slack bastard that just doesn't want to do anything for myself now.
I love it. I think it's certainly something in the band, like in our band over the years, where it is those what seem like small, silly things that are actually like the game changers that can make all the difference to where your mind's at on the night or during the day or in transit between cities or towns. And just for your own, your health and well-being, your mental health and your general happiness. And I mean, we're hopeless for this sort of stuff. I mean, we might be able to work out where we're sleeping that night, but we always find ourselves picking something, being a tight ass and picking somewhere where we absolutely regret and we can't get any sleep anyway. And we do everything ourselves. I mean, from a tech point of view, and even just, I mean, we've always relied on house guys for sound and shit like that, and it's just the worst decision ever. And but it just makes such a difference to invest a little bit and have a little bit more of an intentional set of decisions being made in advance just to protect all those things that can go wrong.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it can go either way, and it's always such a difficult decision, like whether you're investing in having a traveling sound tech with you or a guitar tech, or the past few Euro runs we've brought a photographer with us, and those sort of things, like especially having our mate Matt come and do photos for us at every show, it really helps with the social media content. And as much as I hate to say it, it's a really big deal for bands these days, your socials and all that. And if you got photos from every show and being able to be like, hey, look, we played in this country today and it was great, people like to see that stuff. So it's quite fun. But yeah, definitely having those funny little comfort things as well. Like one of the ones that we have is when we're on tour, if say we've got 2 rooms where we've got beds in it for the night, we'll have the snoring room and the non-snoring room. And I'm in the snoring room, and our photographer Matt, g'day if you're listening, he's definitely a snorer as well. So we just play snore in harmony all night, and the others get a good night's sleep because they're in the other room.
It definitely is those little things for sure. I mean, even I think for us, especially if we're away for quite some time, we also do the rotational thing, so people aren't just bunked up with the same person for the entire time as well, because then people get on each other's nerves. They're a little bit too in each other's pants, so to speak. And so it's just a case of, all right, you guys were sharing a room last night or whatever, so let's rotate it around and keep things as fresh as possible. And it sounds so funny because it's sort of like a bunch of school kids, traveling together or whatever. But it makes sense. Oh yeah, for sure. It makes such a massive difference.
And it's sort of it keeps everything fresh, as you're saying. Like we've never done it that way. We just sort of all sleep, or sit wherever in the van, and it's all kind of natural. But I feel like having that sort of roster is quite a good idea.
Yeah. Did you guys have sort of a moment where, I mean, it's probably a gradual thing, as you sort of mentioned before, but where, I think for a lot of bands, especially when you're sort of starting out and especially a lot of DIY sort of stuff where you're really penny pinching, you're trying to save every possible dollar, you'll sort of make shortcuts where possible just to try and get things over the line without spending too much. And I think once you start to look at things such as, places to stay and getting some crew on board and all that sort of stuff, where traditionally you sort of, that's an expense that a lot of bands either don't have the luxury to spend that sort of money or just flat out refuse because it just makes no sense in the immediate sort of moment of having to make that decision. Did you guys sort of did you guys have a powwow between you and sort of say, hey, we need to start sort of putting something aside to make sure we've got a provision for these types of extra things? Or was it just sort of just eventually ended up in that direction?
I think it gradually, just as the band grew, we gradually got to a point where we're like, okay, we can get a hotel room each night. And I mean, like going to Europe is so easy because you get a hotel room every show. The promoters look after you, and they've got such a good system over there. You rock up to the show, they go, here's your keys to your hotel, or you're sleeping upstairs at the venue or something like that. So we found that was where we loved to tour so much. And part of the reason why we kept going back to Europe was just the hospitality and how nice the people were, and how easy they made it for us. And but then, you know, going to places like the US where we're sort of at a bit of a lower level of as a touring band, we definitely had to cut some corners and sleep in some pretty rough places and all that. But yeah, it's there was never really a point where we were like, okay, from now on we're getting hotel rooms every night or anything like that. It just gradually sort of started happening, and it became my role actually in the band to be the accommodation booker. I remember the US tour, I had to look up the cheapest hotel in each city, and we stayed at some absolute rippers. Like there was one where there was blood spatter all over the ceiling, and yeah. I feel like I'm going off on a tangent here.
No,
but,
do it.
But yeah, so our drummer Jake and I, we sharing a bed because it was cheaper to get the double beds than two singles in a room. So we've tucked into bed after a show. I think we were in Cleveland, and Jake gets out his laptop and we put on an episode of Forensic Files because we love all forensic things. And anyway, we're watching it and watching some murder show, and I looked up and I was like, Jake, is that blood spatter on the ceiling above us? And sure enough, we turned on the lights and it was. And that was sort of one of those things I was just like, wow, we're really sort of living the life on the road, you know?
Straight out of a movie.
Yeah. But I must say, since that tour and that period of touring where we did sort of a couple of Europe runs and just pretty much 6 months of solid touring, we all agreed after that we don't have to do 6 week stints per tour anymore. Like, we're going to try to cut it back to maybe 3 weeks or something like that per run, because we were just kind of burning out. And I don't think it's sustainable to do, 100 shows in 6 months or something like that.
That's it's an insane amount, and I think unless you're sort of really at a top tier where you've got all the creature comforts, and I think even then it's no doubt. I mean, I'm just taking a stab in the dark because I've never been there, but it would still put you in a position of potentially burning out anyway, regardless of how comfortable things are. It's still that constant movement of going somewhere new every day, and also having to exert yourself on stage, and then the downtime in between, which I don't think a lot of people realize how taxing that is, because you're trying to occupy your mind with other things, and there are a lot of things to do as well, but there's a lot of idle time, and I think that can become quite it's a really heavy thing to sort of have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's, at least from my point of view, it's quite exhausting. So
definitely. There's been times, coming home from after 6 weeks of a tour or something, and I'll get home and I'll wake up at 6 a.m, not knowing where I am, going, all right, where are we driving to today? And it's been a week since I've been on tour, and I'm at home in my bed, and I'm just expecting that I've got to get up out of bed right now to get in the van and go. And it usually takes a good week to unwind from that lifestyle and adapt back into, all right, I'm at home and I don't have to go anywhere else,
It's kind of like, working all week, and then the Saturday morning you wake up thinking, oh, fuck, I got to go to work. And you go, oh, hang on. No, I don't. Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a bet.
With that decision to sort of cut down or scale back the touring a little bit, did you guys sort of realize that you could probably, even though you're not playing as much and you're not hitting as many places in that shorter space of time, that you're probably ultimately getting the same results in the grand scheme of things anyway, when it comes to sort of getting out there and playing? I mean, the way that the world sort of works now, I'm even pre-pandemic. I mean, the pandemic stuff's going to throw everything out of whack, but I think even pre-pandemic, with the internet and the connectivity that we've all got, and I think the way that people share content and all that kind of stuff, did you guys sort of start to feel that the pressure wasn't there as much as it used to be, as far as you said, like having to be away for 6 weeks at a time?
Yeah, and I mean we've sort of there's been a few times where we've had like a Europe tour coming up where it's looked like it's going to be 3 or 3.5 weeks, but the thing with Europe is our booking agent Tom, he's so good at his job that it'll come to where we're a month out from the tour and he'll be like, all right guys, the tour is scheduled to end in mid-July or late July, but I've got this festival offer in mid-August and it's going to be the best festival you'll ever play. And we look it up and we're like, well, we have to do it. So then we've got like, another couple of weeks of shows that we have to fill up, gaps to fill up. And we're like, well, we can't be taking many days off because it costs us money. So we end up taking a 4-week tour and making it a 6-week tour again. It's difficult, because we're all we've got that mindset that we're teenagers and we just want to play every good show. And don't get me wrong, I'm so happy to get these awesome offers and that's why when we get them we're just like, well, we got to do it. What if this is our last tour we do of Europe or something like that? Or what if this is the show that takes us even further? We've always sort of got that itch where we're just like, you can't pass up these opportunities. So as much as we're saying we want to cut back to 3-week stints, there's a part of me that's like, probably won't happen.
Yeah, I mean, every intention to try and quieten it down a little bit, but look, as you said, I mean, if you're in that fortunate position where people can sort of put something in front of you and say, hey, here's an offer, and have that opportunity to be able to say yes or no, I mean, it is a tough one, especially when you've got that younger version of yourself going, come on, like, this is what you've always wanted.
It's like what you were saying, 16-year-old you, like if you get a slot on this big metal festival that you've always wanted to play or something like that, it's like you're going to take it.
Yeah.
You're going to do everything you can to do it because your 16-year-old self would just kick your ass, And
I think obviously as you get older, it gets harder and harder anyway, like time's against you and people start to settle down and you got careers and relationships and things like that. I think, are you guys sort of early 30s?
Yeah. So I'm 30.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely finding as I get older, I like my time at home and I like to do home stuff. Like, I want to get into gardening and cooking and stuff like that, But that said, I'm still itching to get back on the road. It's so crazy. I never thought, like, after that time that at the end of 2019 when I was so burnt out, like, I thought, I'll go on tour in another month and it'll just be constant. And I never thought that I'd be sitting here at home going, I haven't been on tour for a year and a half and I'm just itching to go again.
Then you'll go for your 3 to 6 weeks and then go, oh, fuck, that's right, I forgot.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, being so tired and being 12 hours a day and all that.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I'm a little bit older, but I think as soon as people start to hit their 30s and then getting sort of more to mid to late 30s, I think that's where a lot of bands start to. They go in 2 directions. Well, probably 3 directions. One direction is that they just completely implode or just fade away and just not do anything at all. But I think the other two are. They just absolutely up the ante and just go harder than ever. That's off the back of whatever momentum they've been able to build up over the years and they're successful. But then there's the other bands who really, it's not just scaling back, it's just really slowing down to a point where you're really playing few and far between shows. You're hardly out there. You might record every once in a while, but it's become... I wouldn't say part-time, but it's more of a case of it's totally integrated into so many other things in your life, the careers, the relationships, the kids, all that sort of stuff. Whereas I think for a lot of us, like when we're in our 20s, like it's just a case of like everything comes second or last in comparison to the band. Like the band's first and whatever it takes, the opportunities are there. Let's just dive at it. Let's go for it. Let's go hard. And then we'll worry about picking up the pieces later on. And as the years roll on, you start to go, oh shit, that's right. There's some other responsibilities in life.
Yeah. All your priorities and everything change over the years. And I remember joining the band, you know, the guys sort of gave me the heads up. They're like, you know, you're going to have to dedicate everything to this. If you're going to join, you're going to miss out on birthdays and lots of important life events and family events and I was like, yeah, whatever, like it's fine. And then it was pretty hard for quite a while, and it still is from time to time. You know, I spent, I think, 5 birthdays in Europe or something, 5 of my own birthdays, which was fine. Like, you know, I always have heaps of fun wherever I am. But, you know, I remember last year having a birthday in lockdown. I was just like, this is so weird being at home, not allowed to leave my house. And it's my birthday. Like, I'm used to having, you know, a birthday cake, which would be a little cupcake from a Dutch service station with a cigarette stuck in the top as a candle. Like that's my birthday. And like the van's broken down and we've got to rush to get to our next show. Like, you know, stuff like that. That's what I was used to for my birthday for a while.
And you just take it in your stride, don't you? I mean, obviously there's times along the way where you get sort of stretched a little bit or split as far as what you want to do versus what's needed to be done. But I guess you know, when you sort of first kick into this stuff, you can kind of roll with it and you just take it as it comes and whatever, you know, you're not overthinking it. And I guess as the years roll on, then those things become harder and harder to just sort of let slide off your back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I'm pretty confident that the band's got many, many years ahead of us, but I think we're all a lot more considerate of everyone's got their own lives going on, and that, you know, yeah, we can't just be like, all right, we're blasting 2 months overseas now. You know, it's like, let's all talk about it first, you know.
Tell me a little bit about what you listened to growing up, and you mentioned being a bit of a metal fan. So what were your go-tos, or what are still your go-tos when it comes to metal?
Well, I guess like as a teenager, like I was all like, you know, Iron Maiden, Motorhead, Judas Priest. I was a big Guns N' Roses fan, still am. I've always like, I've never sort of gone through a phase where I've been like, I love this band and they're one of my favorite bands. And then like, you know, 10 years later, I'm like, oh, I don't like that band anymore. I'm always like, I still love that band. You know, I'm always going to love these bands from my childhood. And I think like Judas Priest have got to be one of my all-time favorites. As a guitar player, like the dueling lead guitars, and then like Thin Lizzy as well. Like that's why a big part of why I love that band so much. Like it's always been a big influence on me. That sort of music. But like as a kid growing up, I was lucky enough to go and see like Maiden and Priest and Sabbath and Heaven and Hell with Ronnie James Dio. All those shows as like a 17, 18-year-old really like blew my mind, and I was like, I really want to do this. You know, I want to go and play big shows and play guitar and all of that. So yeah, and it was kind of weird then joining like a punk rock band and being like, okay, well, you know, I always liked clowns and I used to go see them play shows, but I never really pictured myself playing in a punk band. But then it ended up working out that the day that I joined the band, 2 days later we got an offer for a festival in the States and Motorhead were playing. So I was like, all right, this is the best thing I've ever done, like straight up.
Just validated awesome. Straight away, yeah.
yeah, and like Anthrax were playing as well, and I was like, oh, this is sick. Like, I'm so glad I joined this band. And it ended up being fun playing shows as well.
Oh, mate. I mean, obviously you'd seen Clouds play. You're a fan of what they were doing. Obviously, didn't see yourself playing that style of music. But I mean, obviously you're on the other side of the fence now, well and truly. But prior to that, what was it that drew you to it, in the sense that this could be something that I could give a shot? Like, what was appealing about it?
Well, I'd actually my partner Rachel and I we had tickets to go and see Clowns play a show in Melbourne, and they were supporting an American band called The Shrine, and we really wanted to check that band out as well. And when we rocked up to the show, Clowns had pulled out of the show. They couldn't play for whatever reason, and one of the guys was there, and I was like, "Oh, what's up?" And he's like, "Oh, our guitarist quit the band," and I was like, "Well, are you looking for a new guitarist? Like, I could come jam with you guys." And then, yeah, we ended up sort of teeing it up and had a couple of jams, and then I ended up joining sort of halfway through a tour, and never really looked back. It just sort of, I didn't have time to, just had to keep going. Like as soon as I started playing, I just had to keep going, and yeah, no regrets. It's been great.
I guess it's one of those things where, yeah, you're just in the midst of it, and in autopilot, almost, so to speak. Like, just guitarist has quit. I play guitar, and that's like just this reaction to the situation. Then sort of thinking about it later, going, okay, well, this is different. This is not what I was expecting.
Yeah, that's literally what happened. I was like, well, here's an opportunity. Do you need a new guitarist? I'll join, and it happened, and yeah, there's definitely been some times where I've been like, oh, what have I gotten myself into? Like, I'm away for so long, and I'm so tired, and I'm in this town I've never even heard of before, and I'm homesick, but it's always so fun. Like, there's always going to be times where you're like, what am I doing? But 99% of the time, it's going to be a blast.
Have you brought in a little bit of that metal style into Clowns over the years with your playing, or just being on stage and your performance?
Yeah, I mean, I think writing music, I think the style of the band has changed and gone a few different ways. I think every album with this band is always going to be completely different to the last album, and the main goal is to never write the same record twice. And so I've had a bit of freedom to be able to bring some ideas in that may be different to what the band's done before. And our new guitarist Cam, who's one of my best friends, I've known him for 20 odd years. He is also a metalhead, so he's bringing in all these cool ideas, and not to say that we're turning into a metal band or anything, but Cam and I are gradually just sinking our fangs in and trying to add in little bits and pieces here and there. But it's good fun.
I'm picturing like some sort of like early 80s Priest dual guitars, as you mentioned earlier, like this little mid section where you both sort of riffing off these leads, like just, and pulling some shapes on stage, KK Glenn Tipton sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it's funny you said that, because we're sort of been bouncing ideas off each other, Cam and I, let's put some little harmonized lead bits here and there, and without making it sound just like Judas Priest or anything, trying to stay in the context of the style of music we play. It's nice to be able to just chuck in some little flourishes here and there, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. An interesting thing I've noticed with you guys is that there is like a real obvious crossover between sort of that rock and metal crowd and that punk crowd. And I think with what you guys do, it's funny when the band comes up in conversation when you're talking to friends and who are mainly known for their love of heavier music, and there seems to be a level of respect and a lot of metalheads actually really enjoy what you guys do, and not necessarily being punk fans themselves. So I think there must be something in what you guys do which whether it's a subconscious thing or whatever that really appeals to. It might be just more so the energy that you guys put out on stage or whatever it might be. But it appears that there seems to be a bit of mutual respect from both sides, which is awesome. I mean, it's metal in particular has always been so segregated and a little bit sort of, if it's not metal, then fuck off,
Yeah, but same with punk music as well. There's always these big arguments of, what is punk and that's not punk, and it's funny, we've always tried not to pigeonhole ourselves into a particular genre or to sound exactly like one band or another band, and I guess when we signed on with Fat Records in the States, it was an interesting sort of thing, because as soon as we put out our first stuff with them, it was like we just knew that there was going to be these Fat Wreck fans that all they listen to is like NoFX and Pennywise and all that, which is great, but they'd just be so offended by hearing our music, and they'd be like, oh, what's this metal shit and stuff like that. Whereas you look at the other side of it, where we'll play like a festival, like we did the Wacken Festival in Germany, and where we were like the non-metal band there, or one of the non-metal bands. We were like the punk band, where every other band was like super heavy metal, and it's kind of like weird sitting in the middle there and not really being part of, stuck in one sort of genre, but we try to play it to our own advantage, I guess. And, our latest song is pretty much a pop song. And if we can do that, we can do a metal song for our next song. And yeah, we try to make it sound like every song sounds like Clowns, but it doesn't have to strictly be of one genre, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly what we do. With our stuff, it sort of goes through the machine to make it sound like Lord, but it can be, there can be blast beats, or there can be sort of like a bit more of a punkier sort of riff, or it could be a ballad,
pop covers.
Pop covers as well. Yeah, that's it. So it's
having a look at the track listing and having a listen to your latest record.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, just
great.
Yeah, but we always. The thing that we can't compromise, and I'm sure it's the same with you guys, is we can't compromise on whatever that blueprint is for the band, that band's sound. And so when someone listens to a song for the first time, and be familiar with the band, but not be familiar with a particular song or a new song, instantly they can go, hey, that's Clowns, or that's Lord, or whatever it might be. And it's not sort of like, oh my God, is this band? Because it doesn't sound anything like them.
Yeah. It's that fine line of going, you want to sound like yourself, but you don't want to sound like every other song you've done. You want to have something different in there, and I think it's really quite satisfying, like hitting that spot. And there's always going to be people that are like, "What is this shit?" But you can't please anyone. And if someone's going to be sitting there spending their time typing out a comment on a YouTube video, I mean, at least they're there. They care enough to comment on it.
Oh, mate, I always say the same thing as well. The more haters, the better. Like, the fact that somebody is passionate enough to leave some hate means that they actually give enough of a shit. Like, if it's the ones who don't like the music and never say anything and just ignore you, that's the worst. You want them to make a bit of noise and create a bit of momentum online.
Yeah, if 20% of your views on YouTube or your listeners on Spotify or whatever don't like it, then whatever, they've listened to it or they've watched your video and they've left some funny comment about how stupid your hair looks or how crap your guitar playing is. Like so what? I used to, like, when we'd get comments, I'd be like, oh, why would they say that about us? And you take it to heart, but the more you get, the more you realise that it doesn't matter what you do. People are going to still hate it.
Yeah. I used to have
as long as people like it, then I'm happy.
That's it. And I used to go and look at a comment from somebody and then go and click through to their profile to see who they are, and you realise that it doesn't, like, everything in life they hate. Like, it's not you, it's nothing personal, it's not even the band, it's just like you just happened to be in their line of sight at the time where they felt like they weren't going to unleash, but they were unleashing to everyone. So you just let it sort of roll off your back and keep going.
And it's like people who leave Google reviews. Like if your workplace gets a 1-star review, sometimes you just go, all right, I'm going to have a look at the other reviews this person's left. And it's all bloody 1-star reviews. And you go, well, there you go. Some people have weird sort of things that make them happy. And if that makes that person, that anonymous person happy that they can shit on someone's business, then so be it.
Just, you be you.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned Wacken just before, but yeah, really quickly, I mean, what was the reaction from the crowd? Like, was it a case of like, who are these guys and winning them over? I mean, what was that whole experience like?
Oh, it was incredible. So that day we roll into the town of the festival and they're like, all right, so you got to park your van and then we'll pick you up in a shuttle bus to take you to your backstage area. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, like we have to be driven between the areas. And then, we get backstage, have a drink, go and watch Dokken play their set, and then go and watch Vince Neil do his thing. And that was kind of funny. And then we played and we were told, all right, you're going to be in the beer garden. That's your stage. Like, we knew it was one of the small stages and we're like, that's all right. We're just happy to be here. If we're playing on a small stage, that's fine. Like, I'd probably rather play on a smaller stage where there's not going to be big open spaces and whatnot than have to play on some big one where everyone's just like, oh, who the fuck are these people? But we got to the stage and we got up and played and there was still about 3,000 people there or something. and people got into it and it ended up being great. And we had a really, really good show. And then it was sort of 5 minutes before the end of our set that we noticed people started walking another direction. And it was because Danzig was about to start, which is fair enough. Like, you know, when we finished, we like bolted so we could go watch 5 minutes of Danzig's set. But the experience of playing was really cool because I'd always wanted to go to that festival just to be a punter there, and to get to play it, I really want to do it again. I'd pretty much give anything to go back there. It was just so good. And guess who headlined that night? Judas Priest.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so we got to play with Priest. Well, kind of play with Priest.
Hey,
in the beer garden. They were in the
same show, mate. Same show. You play with Priest.
Yeah, I'll claim it.
Oh, mate. Yeah, I think. Wacken's definitely that place where not even just metal bands. I mean, just you guys are a prime example. There's just so many bands like guitar-driven bands, and I think that's definitely the mecca for sort of heavy music or guitar-driven music, and to be able to play something like that's would no doubt be just absolutely incredible.
And just to see that festival as well, like they had so much cool stuff going on. Like they had like axe throwing where you could go and get axes and throw them into bits of wood, and they had like Viking villages and flames coming out of everywhere, and a big Lemmy statue. I had to get my photo with the Lemmy statue. And it's just like I couldn't imagine anything like that in Australia. Like it was just, I couldn't believe where I was. It was like I was in Disneyland for adults or something. It was incredible.
Only Germany, mate. Only Germany. Incredible.
Yeah, they know how to do it.
Well, I'm keeping on the time, but before we wrap it up, I've got to ask you, mate. How big of a John Farnham fan are you?
Oh, John Farnham, massive. I love him.
Yeah.
I really love him. I've been wearing this John Farnham T-shirt everywhere. I got one off eBay or something, and because I've been listening to so much John Farnham, and I just love him. It's not even like an ironic, like, oh, that guy's wearing like a John Farnham T-shirt to be funny. It's like I really genuinely love John Farnham.
I love it. Oh, it's so good. I mean, anyone that knows me, like I am just the biggest Farnsey fanboy. Hey, like I just like the ultimate. I think, and I always claim it, but I think he's the all-time greatest singer. I think he should have been
one of the greatest voices in Australia.
Oh, for sure.
Sorry.
Easy, yeah. And I think he should have been in a metal band. I think he should have fronted a metal band, and
he could have easily. Him and I think Jimmy Barnes as well. Like,
for sure.
Both of those voices could have taken on like 80s metal easily. Like they're just sort of perfect for it. But the music that they have done, their voices are perfect for as well. So yeah, I think tonight I'm probably gonna sit back and have a beer and listen to some John Farnham.
Hey, now if you want to go and catch Clowns on tour in the second half of 2021 around the country, you can go to damagedmusic.com.au, you can go to clownsband.com. They're playing places like Alice Springs, Geelong, Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, Brisbane, and no doubt there'll be other dates thrown in there somewhere, who knows? But go to the show notes over at andysocial.net, andydowling.net. I'll have those dates, I'll have the ticket links, I'll have the latest single that came out a little while back called Does It Matter? I'll have the video clip, I'll have some other stuff, everything that we discussed, Jarrod's social media pages, the streaming platforms of Clowns, everything will be over there so you can check it out. And wherever the hell you're listening to this through right now, you can just click through and into the description itself and click through and say hi to Jarrod and the guys. And hopefully you dig the music if you're not familiar with Clowns. And actually, side note, Alice Springs. They're playing Alice Springs at the Blackened Festival. It's a yearly thing that happens out there, and just amazing things that those guys do. But do we have any anti-social listeners from Alice Springs? From the Red Centre, do we have anybody from the centre of this country that listens to anti-social? If so, give me a holler, because I kind of feel like I need a bit of presence out there. Need to get a few more Alice Springian listeners. Maybe I need to get a few Alice Springian guests on the podcast. I don't know. We'll workshop that idea. Just reach out and we'll have a chat. And anyway, I want more regional Aussie listeners on the podcast and to be listening in as well. So reach out if you live in the middle of nowhere. Love to hear from you. Now, before we wrap it up, of course, Patreon. Patreon.com/Andy Dowling. I'm in the midst of reworking the tiers once this current financial year ceases. I'll be just simplifying a few things, but support starts from $1 a month. It is dirt cheap, set and forget. You won't even notice it, and there's a bunch of additional tiers there where you can get access to a bunch of free shit and giveaways. Just recently, I put up a post where I had a bunch of books that I wanted to get rid of. Some brand new books, some books that I've read, like used books, but I put them all in Patreon in the post feed and just said, hey, who wants a book? And free shipping worldwide, don't care, first in, best dressed, one book per person, and that's the way it rolls in Patreon. So come over to Patreon. I'll have every time I get stuff in the mail and free stuff and all that sort of shit, I'll always give first dibs to the Patreon community. So go to patreon.com/Andy Dowling, and I must say a massive thank you to my top tier supporters. These people are in the top 2 tiers over at Patreon, and they're just the heavy lifters. They're the heavy contributors to the podcast. So a massive thank you to Andrew from Perth, Mick G from Sydney, Ash from Deniliquin, Dan from Dapto, Rod from Rayleigh in North Carolina, Patrick from Canberra, Liam from Brisbane, Chris from Sydney, Brendo from Leeton, Tim from Canberra, James from Brisbane, Steve from the Gold Coast, Andrew from Sydney, and Talitha from Brisbane. Thank you. Thank you so much. And these people are, they're legends, and they're part of the wider legendary community over at Patreon. These amazing people supporting what I do, supporting the podcast. It's the reason why the podcast still exists, to be honest. It's the validation, the motivation that I need. And it also helps just alleviate some of the ongoing monthly costs of running a podcast, the production, the website hosting, the podcast hosting, the gear, getting around town. I'm trying to do a little bit more of that now. Just all that sort of stuff that adds up over time. The Patreon community helps sort of ease a bit of the financial strain that comes from running a podcast. So I love it. I love these people, and please definitely consider coming over to Patreon. Patreon.com/Andy Dowling. That's it, folks. Another episode coming very, very soon. Stay tuned. Keep sharing these episodes around. Dig into the back catalogue. Now that we're in the 300s, by all means, dig in there. Like, treat it like the back catalogue of your newly discovered favourite band that's just come along. And you're like, oh, I've got to go back into these old albums and listen to these songs and see where these gems are, these deep cuts. Well, go through the anti-social list, the last 300 plus fucking episodes. There's so many great people that have shared stories and insights and ideas and wisdom and laughs and everything. There's so many people in there. So dig through, reach out to those guests, let them know what you think. And until next episode, whenever that is, take care and ta-ta. Larry.